right, the Positive Gains is back today, and our special guest is Denzel Whitaker. You might have seen him in a handful of movies, Training Day, Warrior, Abduction, Black Panther, and most notably Cutthroat City. Denzel, thanks for being on today.
Of course, brother. Of course. How you guys doing? How's everybody doing, huh?
Doing good, man. Out here in Arizona with this weather. One day it's snowing out here, and the next it's 70, 75. So,
geez, is it 75 today?
It's getting up there. Yeah, that's the high today.
Wow.
Yeah, but 2 days ago was 35 and snowing. So
I heard. Yeah, I got a couple of friends out there, and they were just letting me know. I touched base with one of my homegirls. She was like, "Yeah, I can't do anything. I can't go outside." So it's crazy to hear it's 75. Yeah,
and then you, like I said, you send pictures to your people in different areas, and that's not snow. That's a Zoom background. That's what my uncle said.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
yeah.
So, how did you get started into acting?
Oh man. Long story short, just it was an accident, I guess you could say. A family member had recommended me at a mall kiosk and basically given them my name. And, I didn't find this out until many years later, but we get a phone call one day. Mom answers it, and basically this management company wants me to come try out. And this was at the time where I was at the age of 10. So my mom was basically like, whatever you want to do, me and your dad will take care of it. We'll facilitate it. So I was trying soccer. I was doing like computer engineering, like just basic level stuff. And then I was like, oh, well, I always wanted to be on the Nickelodeon show. So I go and try for the management. And I just remember this feeling of something overtaking me and doing, an improv scene. And once the scene was done, people were clapping, other parents of the other kids who were there. And it was a really cool experience. And of course, at the age of 10, like, what do you make of that? But it was definitely something I haven't felt before. Turns out the management company ended up being a scam. My parents lost a lot of money. But in return, my first role was Training Day. Somehow that ended up flipping into doing Training Day. And it was a snowball effect. It was like, once you get your first taste, you keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Cutthroat City, really wanted to touch base on that for a little bit. It finally hit Netflix, and I was so ready to watch it that I ended up buying it on I think Vudu a while back. That was the only way to stream it. So watching it, I kind of had that feeling like a set it off mindset, and a little bit just because, I felt like the system had failed. And if things would have been done differently, if people would have, helped out with that, with the FEMA and given them the aid and there'd been a little bit more cohesiveness, and some of those things wouldn't have happened. It was what I was thinking. So yeah, what was it like, when you signed on for that role and some of the experiences that you took from it?
Absolutely. I like what you touched on, and I think that was something that was a big piece of what the writer, PG Kush, he wanted to bring to the table, and also RZA, like what they wanted to highlight, especially if, I don't know if you remember sort of the diatribe that T.I. goes on.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Just
yeah.
The entire, different wards within the South, people within New Orleans feeling like they were lost and abandoned. That was something we wanted to really bring to the table. So, I'm glad that resonated with you within the story. How I came about that, to be honest with you, it was a good friend of mine, a producer who I had worked with on this other indie film called Submerged. He called me literally 2 days before Thanksgiving. Like, I'm sitting here with my family, I'm helping my mom, prepare and whatnot. I was like doing a little bit of script writing. He calls me. He's like, hey, listen, man, what are you doing after the holiday? I have this script. It's got T.I., it's got Terrence Howard, it's got Demetrius, it's got Shamik. It's got Cat Graham. It's got A's Gun.
Yeah.
You want to come do this film? Yeah, well, I want to come do this film. So he sends me the script. I read it that day, and literally I call him back. He was like, hey, listen, man, let me know your immediate thoughts. I'm going to go walk into Riz's office. I'm going to go tell him whether you want to do it or not. It was a no-brainer from then on.
I'm there.
Yeah, I read the script. I was super excited about it. I had known that RZA was going to be, directing it and had his active hand all over it, especially even at a script level. You can see where he sort of fused, himself through it. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's go do this.
Yeah, and then I noticed kind of getting off a little track. Tyron Woodley was in there. Making him walk the plank. We won't even get into that. I hope people have seen it because I'm not going to explain it.
Yeah.
It seems like some of the guys from MMA are making more, acting debuts. Obviously, like in Warrior, I know you guys had quite a few people on that role as well. So is that something that, you follow in your free time, MMA?
I don't, to be honest with you. I mean, a casual fight here or there. To be honest with you, I didn't grow up playing sports. Wait, hold on, Mike. Are you there? I feel like you froze.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we're okay. We're good now.
Okay. To be honest with you, to answer your question, unfortunately, no, I don't. Like I'll kind of watch an event if it's happening or if somebody's having a kickback, in the days before the world sort of closed. We would hang out, we would watch a match or whatnot. But to be honest with you, I didn't really grow up playing a lot of sports. Now, T. Woodley, how he got involved again, shout out to my producer, Will Clev. He actually ended up bringing T. Woodley onto that film. And then, a Warrior, because it was, surrounded around the sport of MMA, they wanted to be as authentic as possible. Gavin O'Connor, he really just strived to make it as authentic. I applaud filmmakers when they do that. And then it's always cool for me, since I'm not a sports guy, to actually integrate with other people and
the others
and kind of learn their craft. They're coming on set looking at us as actors and they're like, oh man, we can never do this. I'm looking at them like I can never do that. I'd much rather be in front of a camera than get my head,
punched in.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's just trading admiration and getting to meet new walks of life that I think is pretty cool,
See, and that's what I've noticed. I think with you, like with the roles you take, a lot of them are real authentic, like with Warrior, I didn't have much, I didn't know much about it going into it. And I left the movie theater. It was me and two other people in there. And I was like, oh my gosh, man, that's one of the best, fighting films that I've seen, just because of the family aspect. And then the same thing, like I was saying with Cutthroat City, how they really, tell the story. The Great Debators is another one, that everything lines up. So I appreciate the fact that, for you, it seems like you're real careful on, what you pick, because it seems like everything's authentic.
To be honest with you, man, it's part being careful and part by design. And it's not my design. I give all glory to God on that one, because there's some roles where like you do one, how would I say? I'm a juxtaposition between like searching for the truth and doing like really, historic, thought-provoking roles. And at the same time too, I love my action films. Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, the fantasy films, things like that. And so while I haven't done many of those under my belt, again, it's, certain roles really sort of speak to me, and especially when I'm reading the character and I'm auditioning for it, some, they just sort of hit you. You know what I mean? When you read the material, it just sort of hits you and inspires you. And then, like I said, that's by the grace of God. You go into the audition, you do the best you can. And then you find out hindsight is 2020, right? You do the role and you're like, oh man, that's why I, had that set experience. Or that's why I felt this way, is because, it's almost like a spirit being placed inside of you, being like, nah, this is for you. You know what I mean? So,
So
yeah, man. I mean, that's one of those things you can't really take credit for, but you do try to be as meticulous as possible. I want to be as conscious as of the example that I'm putting out there.
and that leads me into the Black Panther, man. I mean, so I saw the film. I took my son. Me and him went and watched it. We left there, and I was like, "Oh my God, we got to get the rest of the family." So I went and got my wife, my daughter, and I think we went to a matinee. The next day, they loved it, and centered around that film, I really loved how, from top to bottom, the storytelling again. I mean, how it didn't pick sides. It showed you, what happens if you leave somebody and they don't recover because there's not that dialogue. And the greatest thing about it was people of all walks of life and color were able to resonate with the film. I remember that Halloween, so many kids were dressing up as the Black Panther, or Killmonger, and then not just Black people, anybody, so everybody was able to take something away from that film, So yeah, if you want to talk about those experiences too on that film.
That's a special one, man. That's you do a couple of those in your career, and you're just very grateful for the opportunity. And that was one of them again, where I, take no credit other than I was in the right place at the right time. And, thankfully I had the audition, and I went and did the audition. And to be honest, I did that. Let's see, I did that audition maybe, what was this? It had to be probably like August 2016, if I remember correctly. And then that Christmas, I ended up finding out that my agent had been tracking the role for quite a while, and Coogler had seen the personal tape that I had made with him audition, and they ended up hiring me for the role. And it was one of those things where next thing you know, I'm on a plane to Atlanta. I'm out there shooting for a week, just for my designated parts. And again, just quite a blessing to not necessarily, it was the first time in my career, because of the security level behind Marvel projects, and of course the detail behind that, and the fandom and not wanting things to leak. It was the first time that I wasn't privy to all of the details of the film. So when I got to the premiere and I'm watching it for the first time, I'm watching these scenes unfold, and I couldn't believe it. It had taken me back to watch such this beautiful depiction of culture. And like you said, it wasn't biased even within its narrative. And the whole time I'm like, yo, they let Ryan Coogler do that. They let him do that. Oh, he did that. So I'm and it honestly, made me a little bit emotional and overwhelmed just to see that. And then to actually watch the film roll out and inspire so many and do the things that it done. And like you said, just young boys and girls, wanted to be kings and queens and dressing up as African royalty. It's a special one, man. You count your blessings, and that's a beautiful project. And I'm so proud of what it's doing out there. And I'm just grateful to be a part of it,
Yeah. I don't know what they're gonna do, with the new one coming out.
Your guess is as good as mine.
We'll see. But yeah, we were on the fence. One side of the family, we were like, my son was like, Killmonger was bad. He was bad, Dad, and I kept trying to explain. Yeah, because they made him like that. When you don't harness that relationship at a young age, it builds regret and a lot of self-doubt. Mm-hmm. But yeah, shout out to you guys for making that film. That was all-time classic. All right, so yeah, I was saying if you wanted to go over Blackmouth, because to me it seemed like you were creating your own platform, your own brand, and you were slowly transitioning into your own company. So what was the thought process behind it?
Thought process, I would say it just was, I was doing a film in 2013, something that I was writing and directing as a short film called Criminal. And it was simply that I wanted to start branding. You have to build a production company, and you have to, how would you say, you got to write the checks. you got to get everybody on board. Somebody's got to facilitate all of the administrative duties. So at that time, I found it opportune to basically form my company. And Blackmouth and the logo itself, that's been something that's been a part of me probably since middle school, since sixth grade. Yeah, it was Blackmouth itself. It's my gamer tag. It was kind of how people knew me. It was something I used to, tag, when I was doing street art and stuff like that. So it was sort of like a moniker for me. And then likewise, even the logo itself, that was something that I used to just draw as like a little doodle in science class, and I had like all these characters, and it was supposed to be a family. And so it was these, these original things that meant so much to me. And when I went to form my company, I couldn't think of anything more that resonated. And for me, the way I see Blackmouth is kind of like my own Amblin. It's like my own bad robot. That's what I aspire to do with the company. And to be honest, it's so much more than that. It really is somewhere to house all of my creative endeavors. I like to think of what Kanye's done with Donda, and right. The mission statement of that, how that means so much to him, with it being the name of his mother. All different various things that he tries to tackle, within his artistry. It's exactly what I want to do with Blackmouth, whether it's we want to do apparel and streetwear, whether it's we want to give back to the community, whether it's we want to, inspire young filmmakers, give filmmakers an opportunity, or just be, a dynamic production house. That is the creation in itself of Blackmouth and what I plan to do with it.
Wow. See, that's great, because you have something centered around, and then you have so many avenues that you can, play with that with. That's outstanding, especially being charitable. The world needs more of that, especially in times like this.
Absolutely.
So with every,
all I was going to say was I'm just, my father instilled this within me when I was young, and, I've happened to have seen it multiply over as I get older, is that, it really is better to give than receive. So although, on our day-to-days, of course, it's human nature, we're always like focused on how can we, better ourselves, how can we move forward, even when we're stuck in situations of dire need or just emergency, sometimes we reserve and we bring in. But even within those situations, if we find time to give, whether it's monetary or whether it's just time, when you give, that multiplies over. We're all in this earth together. So it's big for me. And the more and more I keep forming the idea of Blackmouth, the more and more I definitely want to do that.
Yeah. Outstanding. So with everything that you've done, project wise, Blackmouth, just everything that you've accomplished so far, what's been some of your favorite moments? What are you most proud of right now?
It's a good question. What, it goes back to the original thought of just how we talked about Black Panther. I'm grateful for just the opportunities I've had within my career. Mm-hmm. What I'm probably most proud of is to still have the perseverance, to still have, a healthy mindset, to still have people within my life, pillars within my life who've definitely inspired me, even at times where, I had my own self-doubt and reservations. Yeah. And, proud to still be doing it, proud to put up work and people actually enjoy it and they find meaning in it. And, not to be self-serving, but people even say like it's an inspiration to them. Like that to me is just dope. Like, oh, this inspired you. Like this meant something to you. So I'm proud of the work. I'm proud of, like I said, the people around me, they can all look and point to and be proud of basically the values they pressed upon me, you know what I mean? And seeing that carry forth. I think nothing makes me smile more than knowing that, you know, my parents can actually point to me and say like, oh man, you know, I had a coworker say that, you know, your son's doing great. That's amazing. Like you did good work. Like that's cool. You know,
Yeah.
like to make my parents proud just makes me proud. So that it's things like that, you know?
And 2021, I know we got out of 2020, a rough year for a lot of people. What's your outlook on it? You know, what do you have planned? You know, if you can divulge into some of your projects.
Sure. You know, 2020 is the big pink elephant in the room. You know, we all lived it. We all got to talk about it. We all definitely stared at that pink elephant for a while.
For too long.
For too long. Yeah. But at the same time, too, again, that goes back to perseverance, because I think 2020 is definitely a reset for humanity that humanity, you know, needed, for better or for worse, you know, and obviously with all due respect to just some of the losses out there and people who suffered, definitely want to respect that.
Yeah.
But I also want to say too, it was a reset. I think it taught and brought people back to their core of what do we value most. You know,
Right.
Most people spent more time with their family. You know, most people realize that the things that we chase and the life that we live, none of this really matters. You know, at the end of the day, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? What are you doing within here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was about it was a big recentering, as I'd like to say. And for myself, I found that I was able to make great strides, even just within recentering. And 2020, I think, brought about that piece for myself. So 2021 is really just sort of building on that same momentum. You know, that's how I choose to spend my time. I was like, okay, well, I'm a creative. And right now, nobody's really, you know, doing anything. Nobody's really out there making money. I was blessed, even within the pandemic, to still have certain jobs. So I was like, okay, well, let's keep going hard. You know, let's keep this mindset going. Right now, we just got to hustle. Because on the other side of this, when we do break out, those that hustled, those that persevered, those that carried on, you know, that's going to be the telling sign of, if you can make it through 2020, you really can make it through the rest of whatever life has to throw at you. You know what I mean? So 2021, it's building upon that, man. Just bigger dreams, bigger goals. Just, if I was able to persevere and still keep carrying on and still keep doing my work, you know what I mean?
And what advice would you have for anybody out there, maybe a young filmmaker, aspiring actor? You know, what would you say to them?
Young filmmakers and aspiring actors. Always be a student of life. Always be a student of life. Never stop having a genuine curiosity and learning. And I think, especially in the world of storytelling, just be and live. You know, I think those were two very important outlooks and messages that I have received within my life, was that everything that we do, even the interaction you and I are having right now, you know, soak this in. What did it feel like? You know, how is this natural? And then even when you get to storytelling, how can you heighten said experience? You know, how can you make this the most compelling for other human beings? Really understanding that everything that you do in one way or another services the people around you, services the people who will be taking in your content. You know, you can make a wonderful film and you can make that for yourself, but this is also called the film business. Right. So at the same time too, make what's on your heart, make what inspires you, make the art that genuinely you would like to see, put that out in the world, understand that this art isn't just self-servicing to you, but also people will take this in. So it might inspire them, it might challenge them, it might mold them. If you had that perspective, imagine how many other people might be having the same perspective. You know, so the art that you do today can serve so many others. So you want to be of service to that art. You want to be of service to that craft. And, you know, preparation is key, just always being ready. I had, you know, an OG tell me once, he basically pulled me to the side and he said, there's nothing worse than having an opportunity present itself and not being prepared. And so many of the blessings that come in your life is when, you know, opportunity meets preparation. So if you always stay ready, you don't got to get ready.
You have to get ready.
Exactly. Shout out to Sugar Free. So
yeah.
So that's just what it is, man. That's what I'd probably say.
Well, that's great advice, man. And you know, service above self will take people a long way. And touching back on what you said, that it's amazing how we, like I said, recentered ourselves around family, our friends, our loved ones, and yeah, 2020 definitely put everything in its proper perspective, and I think it forced people to branch out and understand that, you know, the time's ticking, you know. And I think Kobe said something that what did he say about time? Our biggest I don't know if it was like our biggest regret is thinking that we have a lot of time, you know, because yeah, you never know. So it's great to capitalize and to stay true. But I do appreciate you taking this this podcast interview. Man, I this has been great. I can't thank you enough for, you know, taking the time out of your day to be on this. And you know, you're always welcome back. I always tell people, whenever you come on, you're always a friend of the show, and you know, the platform's open for you to speak on whatever you'd like.
Oh man, no, I like I said, brother, I appreciate it. And you know, for all those listening, Mike had been reaching out for quite some time. We had tried to get in contact, you know, through social media quite some time. So I'm glad we finally got to figure this out in the slot. And you know, again, it's all of being of service. You know, it's exactly like the words I just preached. So, you know, I appreciate you persevering to make this happen. And then, like I said, it was like, let's do something. Let's make sure we always put positive word out. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Because I got to be told no. You know, if people, you know, say I'll get back to you, you know, I'll hold them to it. Once I'm told no, then, you know, I'll back off. I leave them alone. But you were genuine. You said, hey, man, you know, I'll get back with you. And you did, you know, so you stayed true to your word. And I appreciate that.
Oh, man, it's all love, brother. No, thank you for having me.
All right, man. Well, you take care.
All right. You too, bro. All right. Peace.